Vishnu Shom on the program this evening. A very special interview with the Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the Information and Technology Minister, who takes on direct questions on whether there is some sort of conspiracy on the basis of which the iPhones of opposition leaders in the country have been hacked or were in the process of being hacked. He also speaks at length about artificial intelligence and the threats that India may face and how India intends to counter that. But that's going to be at about 9:30. On the top of the program, a huge setback for Arvind Kejriwal, who will now be questioned by investigators in connection with the Delhi liquor scam. Manish Sisodia, remember, the former Deputy Chief Minister, is still in custody. Arvind Kejriwal is now going to be questioned once again. Is there a plan B for the Aam Aadmi Party if this actually goes south? What are the implications of this for the Aam Aadmi Party, and how serious are some of the key points mentioned in that Supreme Court order? That's our top debate tonight on Left, Right and Centre. Today I'm joined by Shehzad Poonawala. Shehzad, thanks very much for being with us. Firstly, a direct political question. The Aam Aadmi Party says this is an effort by the BJP to shut down the Aam Aadmi Party. How would you respond to that?
No, we don't need to do that. The people anyways are shutting them down. Every time they fight a national election, they get less than nota. And as far as the corruption is concerned, the courts of law are ruling on it. Supreme Court, High Court, Lower Court. Supreme Court has denied relief to Manish Sisodia. High Court and Lower Courts have denied relief to Sanjay Singh, to Vijay Nair for months on end. So are the courts of this country also trying to shut down Mr. Arvind Kejriwal? And by the way, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal should contemplate that why his politics has taken such a political conversion and U-turn from the time of India Against Corruption, where they used to say first resignation, then investigation. Today, court orders are coming against their leaders. Court is acknowledging that there is a money trail. And despite that, they have brazened it out so much that they do not want to resign or they do not want to be held accountable. So I think their politics and the degradation of their politics from Anna Hazare to Lalu Prasad Yadav is the reason why people are choosing to shut them down.
Manish Sisodia's argument was that arguments on the charge have not yet commenced and that the trial will take years, therefore he should be granted bail. Now, in terms of the law, that is a fairly principled position. It's been denied. But do you believe that, in a case where the man wasn't a flight hazard, presumably, this bail could have actually been granted as the case went on?
No, because that's not the only consideration while granting of bail. It is also, if you see the CBI case order by the Delhi High Court in March 2023, it has noted that if Manish Sisodia was let loose on bail, there would be attempts by him to destroy the evidence. And therefore, it's not about being a flight risk, but it is about being in a position where you can manipulate the investigation and the proceedings. And we've seen evidence of that. They've tried to destroy digital evidence when apparently they misinterpreted the Supreme Court order and they thought services was with them. They sent people to get the files of the Saurabh liquor scam at 3 a.m. in the morning. We have seen how they have misbehaved with officers. So there's an imminent threat that they would try to suppress the evidence. And therefore, the courts in its wisdom have denied them bail. By the way, Vijay Nair has been denied bail for over 1 year. Mm-hmm. Mr. Sanjay Singh has been denied bail for over weeks, including by the High Court. And Manish Sisodia is in jail for the last 8 months. Clearly, the courts see there is something there to say that they are Kattar Beiman, not Kattar Imandar, as would be projected by Arvind Kejriwal.
So not everything is necessarily gone for the prosecution. A couple of points. Firstly, this is, and I'm quoting from the order, the assertion that 2 crores 20 lakhs only was paid as bribe to Manish Sisodia is not a charge or an allegation made in the charge sheet by the CBI, is what the order said. It may be difficult to regard the alleged payment as a proceed of crime under the PML Act, right? So would you like to react to that this is one part of an allegation which has been raised where the judges say that no, in fact, we aren't quite there in establishing this as being definitively correct?
Vishnu, the way to read a Supreme Court judgment or a verdict is not to cherry pick one or two factoids from it, but you read it in totality. After considering everything that is on record, the Supreme Court still, while it was at liberty to grant bail, did not do that. So clearly it sees that there is reason for Mr. Manish Sisodia to be kept under jail even now. Point number one. Point number two, in other proceedings which are taking place in lower courts, the courts have established not as an observation but as a finding that crores of rupees of kickbacks have been paid. Manish Sisodia is quote unquote the principal architect, and that along with the highest levels of Delhi government a huge scam was perpetrated upon the people of Delhi in the name of Sharab Ghotala. And in fact, there are also material that has been put before the courts by the agencies, which indicate the role of Mr. Kejriwal himself. For instance, the Dhawan Committee report said that the commission should not be increased to 12%, but Mr. Kejriwal did it, and it happened at his residence with his knowledge, presence, and connivance. And this has been given as a statement under 164 by C. Arvind. Similarly, giving the wholesale to private sector leading to its cartelization was not recommended by Dhawan Committee report. It was done at Arvind Kejriwal's house. Apart from that, there is also the case of the FaceTime call with Samir Mahindru, where he is introducing Vijay Nair as his boy. And we all know that there were blacklisted companies that were allowed to come in. Show cause notices were issued, but no action was taken. As soon as the money started flowing into the Aam Aadmi Party coffers, they have a lot to answer for. So therefore, they should answer the questions rather than play the victimhood card.
No, I take your point about the money trail. However, just to again read another part of what the Supreme Court says, and again, I do take your point that we should not look at it from a totality. But it is important, and I think it needs to be brought up. The Supreme Court says, and I quote, the assertion in the complaint filed by the DOE that kickback of rupees 100 crores was actually paid by the liquor group is somewhat a matter of debate. In this particular aspect of the case, it appears the money trail has not been established.
No, but yet, if you see, the division bench has concluded that tentatively a money trail of 338 crores has been established by the agencies. Point number one. Point number two, the fact of the matter is that, you know how prevention of corruption works is that even if the pecuniary gain can't be directly established, I'm just saying this for viewers' information, not that it applies to this case, but even if you cause a wrongful loss to the exchequer, whether the flow of money has taken place or not is actually not important. So in the CBI case, which is under Prevention of Corruption Act, the argument that a so-called money trail has not been established, which they keep lying about, does not even become relevant because in Prevention of Corruption Act, causing wrongful gain or wrongful loss is itself punishable offense. And thirdly and most importantly, if there was no corruption in this, why did you switch to the old policy? You would have continued with the new policy. You said that the old policy is a corrupt policy. You went back to the old policy. And your new policy is the best policy in the world. Why did you not continue? There is an RTI of the Delhi government, by the way, which shows how 2,000 crore rupee loss has been caused to the exchequer because of the new policy. By the way, this new policy led to increase in sales of alcohol, but decrease in the revenue of the Delhi government. It's all on record. This is actually a clear-cut, open and shut case of a scam by Kejriwal, for Kejriwal and of Kejriwal. And Mr. Kejriwal has a lot to answer. But instead of what he used to do before 2014, that is demand everybody's resignation at the drop of a hat, today he is not even allowing himself to be subjected to any kind of scrutiny.
Two other parts of this judgment, and one which some would suggest could in fact be the smoking gun. The order says, and I quote, the DOE has relied on evidence and material that a portion thereof, in other words 45 crore rupees, was transferred through Hawala for the Goa election and used by the Aam Aadmi Party. At this stage, we don't know about the entire amount which was used by the Aam Aadmi Party in the election, but the fact that the order actually says that a part of this money was likely transferred through Hawala, do you see that as being a smoking gun?
Absolutely, and this is why the Supreme Court had in fact asked that why not make the Aam Aadmi Party a party in this entire scam as well. And also, if I remember correctly, the person representing the agencies had said that this is under due consideration, and perhaps in the days to come that might be done. And if that is done, then obviously those people who are responsible for the functioning of the Aam Aadmi Party will be the persons who have to be investigated and interrogated. Secondly, it has come out from various other pieces of evidence that the commission was increased to 12%. The deal was that 6% of that increased 12% commission would flow back into the coffers of the Aam Aadmi Party, which would be used either for personal gain or would be used for election funding in Goa, in Punjab and elsewhere. And therefore, this becomes extremely relevant, and this is being established not just by one or two pieces of evidence, but by a conclusive entire network of evidence that has been found out by the agencies.
I want to talk about this last part of it, and this is my final question to you. Again, the Supreme Court says the difference between the new profit margin, which is 12%, minus 5%, the old one, plus 70 crores, which was the license fee, has resulted in a windfall for the state government, which, and I quote, it is submitted could constitute proceeds of crime, an offence punishable under the PML Act. The proceeds of crime were acquired, used, and were in possession of wholesale distributors who unlawfully benefited from illegal gain. I pointed this out to the Aam Aadmi Party in an interview I did just before interviewing you, And their response is that this part applies to wholesale distributors and they are not accountable for an illegality at that level. How would you look at that?
I don't think they understand the gravity of the situation that has been brought out by the court. The fact of the matter is that this entire policy was tweaked in such a way that it would result in huge gains for certain private people who are being given a cartelization model in the wholesale sector. And they had 85 to 90% of the control of the wholesale, and therefore they made huge amount of money. And it also benefited other people in the entire system. And those people were paying back kickbacks to the Aam Aadmi Party, of which a digital and other evidence has been recovered. So I think that the Aam Aadmi Party doesn't understand what it has, or it is trying to play smarter than than half by not acknowledging this fact. But anyways, the point that I'm trying to make is that let's assume that the government, the agencies, everybody is vindictive. Do you know their new ally, the Aam Aadmi Party's new ally, the Congress Party, Mr. Ajay Makan, has called for the arrest of Mr. Kejriwal in this matter. And the Congress Party, if I believe Mr. Pawan Kheda and Supriya Shine, both of them taking credit for starting the investigation into the liquor scam, have said that the Aam Aadmi Party has done massive corruption. Now, Aam Aadmi Party should forget us and they should tell us, is the Congress vindictive? Are the courts vindictive? Everybody is vindictive. Only the Congress and only the Aam Aadmi Party is truthful. That is the kind of excuse they are making. I think they're completely exposed, and it would be better if Mr. Kejriwal gives a report card rather than his victimhood card.
Well, joining us now, Saurabh Bharadwaj of the Aam Aadmi Party. Thanks, Saurabh, very much for being with us. The name of Arvind Kejriwal has now come up in this case. He's going to be questioned. It comes right after what we saw in the Supreme Court yesterday on Manish Sisodia, his bail being denied. What is your reaction to Arvind Kejriwal now being questioned? What are the implications for the Aam Aadmi Party?
Vishnuji, it was very expected because we understand this battle is not legal. This battle is political. 2 days back, Mr. Manoj Tiwari in his interview to ANI said that next in line is Arvind Kejriwal and he'll be arrested. I'm surprised. How does Manoj Tiwari know that ED is going to summon Mr. Kejriwal? So it makes me believe that it is an entire script and it's a political script and it is written at the headquarters of Bharatiya Janata Party, and it is they who decide who will be summoned, who will be arrested, who will be charged sheet. And I think as per the calendar which is maintained by Bharatiya Janata Party, they would want to arrest the convener of Aam Aadmi Party, our Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, because the target is political. They just want to finish Aam Aadmi Party politically. They believe that the second line of leadership is already in jail, and if the top leadership is also in the jail, probably they can get rid of Aam Aadmi Party politically. However, Vishnuji, what I have experienced in the last 10 years, that whenever you feel that Aam Aadmi Party is done, dusted, destroyed, Aam Aadmi Party gets a lot of sympathy, a lot of public support from people, and we rebound much more stronger than before. This has happened many times with us, and I'm very sure that people can see through all this conspiracy and they will stand with us.
Saurabh, let me ask you a direct question. If things go south for the Aam Aadmi Party at this stage, and is there something in the works in terms of a plan B in your leadership?
As of now, I don't know about it, and I don't think any discussion has happened because we believe in the leadership of Arvind Kejriwal, and I think wherever he is our leader, and we can work under his directions.
But sort of prima facie, the Supreme Court seems to indicate, and I use that word prima facie again, that there is a money trail which is in the process of being established. Doesn't that really weaken your case and Mr. Sisodia's case? Yes,
Vishnuji, I did read the entire 45-page order of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, in its order, destroyed almost all the allegations of ED. The allegation of 2 crore 20 lakhs being given to Manish Sisodia, the court did not accept it. The allegation of 100 crores being routed to Aam Aadmi Party through Hawala channels, The Supreme Court said, no, there are no, this is a very debatable thing. Yes, the Supreme Court did say that some commission of distributors have been increased from X% to Y%. But Vishnuji, in its last hearing, the same Supreme Court said that whenever there is a new policy, there are gainers, there are losers, and the policy per se cannot be investigated. So unless there is a quid pro quo, every policy will have some beneficiaries. For example, if you give away coal mines, somebody will earn from that. If you are giving away airport or let's say port to someone, some businessman is making money out of that. There is no such business in which a businessman will come and he's making losses. So if somebody is making gains, that doesn't per se mean that there is corruption. There has to be a quid pro quo. And the Supreme Court was very silent about any money trail being established by ED or CBI. So I believe per se, yes, it is a jolt for Aam Aadmi Party that we did not get bail for Mr. Sisodia, but the order in a way basically destroys many allegations of ED and CBI.
There's something else which is striking in that Supreme Court order. Yesterday, in fact, the Supreme Court says the difference between the new profit margin, that's 12%, and minus 5%, right, which is the old profit margin, plus 70 crores, which is the license fee, has resulted in a windfall for the state government, which, and I quote, it is submitted would constitute proceeds of crime and offence punishable under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. How would you respond?
Yes, Vishnuji. So this unlawful gain or the proceeds of crime, they are in the possession of the distributors because the CBI and the ED failed to convince the top court that this money got transferred from distributors to Aam Aadmi Party or Mr. Sisodia. So yes, it can be said that this gain was achieved by some private parties, but in order to make it a criminal offense, I think they will have to prove that this money traveled from private parties to government functionaries.
All right, Saurabh Bharadwaj, thank you very much for joining us with that perspective from the Aam Aadmi Party. I'm joined by Aditi Fadnis, consulting editor of Business Standard, and Sanjay Singh, senior journalist. Aditi, let me come to you first. Are we getting into a somewhat serious crisis in terms of the overall leadership of the Aam Aadmi Party? After Sisodia, Kejriwal being questioned shortly. If things go south for the Aam Aadmi Party, would it be time for them to be looking at their next rung of leadership?
Yes, absolutely. And I think they are not unprepared for that. Certainly, the idea is to draw Arvind Kejriwal into the whole controversy, into the whole
Aditi, we'll come to you in just a moment. There's a bit of a line issue over there. Sanjay, would you like to take that question? How serious is this? And does this mean that after Arvind, the Aam Aadmi Party needs to be looking at somebody else if things don't go well for him in this case? So far, this case has not gone well for the Aam Aadmi Party.
Vishnu, since the time these investigations started and arrest of Manish Sisodia happened, and there was always an argument that this has gone to doorsteps of Arvind Kejriwal. I don't know what happens on second, because Arvind Kejriwal will be replying to whatever questions that would be thrown at him. If ED is convinced that there is a substance in whatever clarification Arvind Kejriwal gives, then obviously nothing happens. But should we consider a scenario where Arvind Kejriwal is arrested and Aam Aadmi Party leaders, if not directly, indirectly, they are implying that this might happen? There is a huge possibility, and they also are trying to suggest on those lines. So therefore, there is a situation where this might happen. There are two situations. Somebody from within the ranks of Aam Aadmi Party takes over, like Manish Sisodia's position was filled by Atishi Mardena. And Atishi, in her own press conference post Manish Sisodia's arrest and her kind of elevation to a question which the answer I found slightly amusing, particularly coming from her, that एक मनीष सिसोदिया को पकड़ोगे तो 10 मनीष सिसोदिया पैदा होंगे. See, in fact, in that case was beneficiary of Manish Sisodia's arrest. I'm not casting aspersion on anybody's competence, because no post can be vacant till eternity. Of course, now there was a situation in Bihar when Lalu Prasad Yadav was arrested in Chara Ghotala by the CBI, and then something very bizarre happened that we know as of now, that Rabri Devi was named as chief minister and she ruled state for many years to come. Similar situation, in fact, if you look at in Haryana, Chautala ke bare mein bhi something happened, and even then the family continued to rule. In this case, there is another interesting thing which happened, not exactly related to this case. But when the Siege Mahal thing was being talked about, and so many things were coming out in media, there was also a reference of Madam Chief Minister. So some people referring to his wife as Madam Chief Minister. So will that be a scenario, or will that be somebody from within the ranks comes up?
But Sanjay, let me ask you this. You know, the Aam Aadmi Party has based itself, its entire politics is on anti-corruption. And here they've got a serious corruption charge, bail not being granted to Sisodia despite being behind bars for several months, in custody for several months. Has that reputation or that image of the Aam Aadmi Party taken a serious hit?
Has severely been dented. Kattar Imandar, even till few days back, was saying Kattar Imandar, and they're supremely confident that Supreme Court will give relief to them. This Kattar Imandar thing has actually got a beating, and in some ways that is Arvind Kejriwal's own doing, because at one point in time he called everybody a chore and went on to town to suggest that. And thereafter, there were so many cases, and then his Maafinama came, written Maafinama to some of these leaders who filed contempt against them. And today, he's friends with all of them in India Alliance. What happens to India Alliance and how Congress is reacting to this on liquor scam was Supreme Court's observation on Manish Sisodia. That is a different matter. But yes, Arvind Kejriwal's Kattar Imandar thing, his house of 54 crore, that Sheesh Mahal, and these kind of two of his closest associates in the government, Manish Sisodia and Satyen Jain, both in jail on corruption charges. I think Satyen Jain, of course, is on bail on health charges. That has obviously dented Arvind Kejriwal's claim as Kattar Imandar.
Aditi, just in terms of what the Supreme Court said yesterday, where they prima facie seem to suggest that there is a money trail which exists, I'm sure you've gone through that judgment. Which part of that order do you find most striking? Obviously, the bail being denied is one aspect of it, but it's based on certain conclusions which the Supreme Court has made. What among those conclusions do you find particularly striking?
Well, I would not like to go into a dissection of the Supreme Court order. I mean, the Supreme Court has in its wisdom said many things, including that the past order has said that Aam Aadmi Party as an entity is responsible for corruption. One could have a difference of opinion about that. The issue is not that. I think the issue is that every election that the Aam Aadmi Party has contested in Delhi, it has won. So whatever the Supreme Court says, or whatever the government says, or whatever the BJP says, in the People's Court, that seems to have lower credibility. That's number one. Every time you make a change in policy, you do attract questions about, I mean, for instance, if you increase the commission, if you increase the liquor businesses commission from 5 to 12%, of course there will be questions. But the question is who makes the money and who loses the money. So I really don't know what the outcome of the Supreme Court's legal position is going to be, and I don't think we should speculate on that. But the political outcome is, I think, pretty clear. Aam Aadmi Party is rapidly emerging as an underdog, and that is not good news for all the others who want to challenge it.
Yeah. Sanjay, what are the implications for the India alliance if something serious happens to Arvind Kejriwal or the Aam Aadmi Party? In this case, the entire anti-corruption fight, which is the core plank of every political party going into the elections, for the India alliance, how would that really be dented?
See, first, Aam Aadmi Congress had not invited Aam Aadmi Party when prior to formation of India Alliance. Aam Aadmi Party was not an invitee on their conference room table. Subsequent to that, you know how Nitish Kumar worked on that. And then Arvind Kejriwal was the newsmaker, whether he is going to Patna or not going to Patna, whether his conditions of supporting Delhi Services Bill is fulfilled by the Congress or not fulfilled by the Congress, whether he'll attend press conference in Patna or not attend press conference in Patna. He did not attend press conference and left for Delhi with his party colleagues. Whether he is going to Bangalore or not going to Bangalore. If he is going to Bangalore, then conditions accepted or not accepted. Whether he is going to Mumbai or not going to Mumbai. Arvind Kejriwal willy-nilly was kind of one of central figures in terms of publicity. And Arvind Kejriwal knows how to gain that kind of publicity and be a talking point and make a talking point around him. He also projected himself to be only champion who could perhaps take on Prime Minister Modi and the BJP. Congress, I think lately Congress was not very comfortable, because after they kind of wholeheartedly supported Congress, Arvind Kejriwal on Delhi Services Bill, so much so Manmohan Singh was brought, not in best of health, to Rajya Sabha to vote for on the bill. And then you know what happened in Punjab, and then you know what happened in Delhi and subsequent. Today, Delhi BJP, Delhi Congress leader Sajay Makan now again in a very responsible position in Congress. Since the beginning, he was opposed to Arvind Kejriwal entry in AAP and services bill. He has come out very strongly on this particular issue today.
In fact, Aditi, that's a key issue. The Congress party was one of the parties which really led the charge against the Aam Aadmi Party when these allegations in the Delhi liquor scam came out. The equation between the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party has been quite tenuous or uneasy. Do you believe, with the case against Sisodia at least not going favourably for the Aam Aadmi Party, that equation, the political equation as they try and work together for the elections, could be impacted in some way, shape or form?
I don't think the Sisodia issue is going to impact the negotiations. The fact is, Aam Aadmi Party is strong in Delhi, and all parties, including the BJP and the Congress, are both, trying to corner it in some way. So I'm not sure if the Sisodia issue is going to be such a big issue in negotiations. But certainly, I mean, Aam Aadmi Party does represent a challenge. It is undeniable. Both parties have to, both BJP and Congress, the India Alliance, has to come to terms with this.
Sure. Look, I'd like to thank you both very much for joining us, looking at the political implications of what's been happening in the Supreme Court to the Aam Aadmi Party. It is just a bail hearing at this stage. Manish Sisodia not having been granted bail despite being in custody for several months. But what is the political fallout of this going to be in the long run? We'll have to wait and see, closely tied to what happens in court. Kejriwal next up to be questioned. We'll take a short break. There's more coming up, including a very special interview with the Minister, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, on the entire Apple issue, with allegations of the phones, the iPhones of senior opposition leaders potentially being tapped. He responds with some direct answers.